ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So thank you all the devotees for joining. Special gratitude to Shyam Rasika Mataji, Rupini Padma Mataji, and also would like to thank Pooja Mataji. I don't know the initiated name, sorry, but I just heard her glories. So thank you so much, Pooja Mataji, for being consistent and serving all the devotees. And thank you all the devotees for joining. So we'll be continuing from where we left off last class. And last class we spoke about the glories of Kartik month and some glimpse of Yashoda binding Krishna, and how in the entire pastime we can see Srimati Radharani by the mercy of the previous Acharyas, because they are all Rasik Vaishnavas, and the Rasik Vaishnavas, they can actually perceive the pastime and they can connect every pastime of Krishna with Srimati Radharani. So last time in the last class we discussed about different pastimes that happened in the Kartik month, Govardhan Lila, Ras Lila, and then Prabhupada's disappearance. So how everything got connected to Srimati Radharani, and then how Yashoda's love for Krishna, Yashoda Damodar also, is ultimately Radha Damodar Lila, and how I just shared one insight that the Ukhal is also manifestation of Srimati Radharani. So today, I last time I forgot to quote some evidences from scriptures and from our acharyas, but today we'll see there are certain evidences which can, even if you philosophically speculate that the Ukhal was Radharani, but then there are certain evidences from scriptures and the acharyas they also mention, so indirectly. So we'll see those references also. And today we'll be discussing about the briefly discussing about the multiple commentaries on this particular pastime of deliverance of the Yamalarjuna trees, Manigriva and Nalapuera, and the lessons that we learn from this pastime. So all glories to our previous acharyas. They have given wonderful, inspiring commentaries, and it's always best to learn the scriptures, especially Krishna's pastimes, through the eyes of the great acharyas. So um, Mahajana Vena Gata Saparta. That is what is very important for all of us. Okay. So now we'll be continuing from the point where Yashoda has already tied Krishna, and then Krishna is waiting, and then he's glancing, because then he's able to recall the curse of Narad Muni, and he also happens to see the two trees, Yamalarjuna trees, and I will also share why it is called Arjuna trees. We'll discuss that later. And when Krishna glances on those trees, then he recollects Narad's curse, or you can say a blessing in disguise, and then he gets compassionate to deliver them. So it is very interesting. Our acharyas, they also say that this is the greatness of Krishna, that he himself is being bound by Mother Yashoda, but he is thinking of releasing others from bondage. So that is the greatness of Krishna. Um, so in that particular situation, also Krishna is thinking of giving mercy, liberating, bestowing bhakti to non-devotees. So the mood of compassion is so important. And in this particular Kartik month, we'll see in all the pastimes, the common theme is compassion. That is what Krishna is displaying again and again. So here also now he's about to deliver the uh, two demigods. So I hope that everyone is familiar with the background that Narad Muni had cursed Nalapur and Manigriva because they were naked and they were on the banks of Ganges, Mandakini actually, which is I think in the heavenly planets, and so they actually committed great offenses according to the acharyas. They committed great offenses. Why? Because first of all, they were followers of Lord Shiva. So as Lord Shiva is a great devotee of Krishna, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambho. So that's why generally it's natural and it is observed that uh, when there is a great Vaishnava and whoever is connected to great Vaishnava, so if they do not follow certain etiquettes properly, then they have to bear the reaction of that and it becomes an offense. So because of their attachment towards Lord Shiva, um, obviously when you get attached to big people, then you also develop pride. So that is also consequence of being attached to a great um, person, not just in terms of devotee, in the context of being a devotee of Krishna, but also in terms of material, someone who is very powerful. Because Lord Shiva is one of the guna avatars, so he's in one way is like not different from Krishna. So being followers of Lord Shiva, in spite of that, they drank liquor where Lord Shiva resided. So Lord Shiva resides in different places in the material universe as well as beyond the material universe. And one of the places that Lord Shiva resides is also near the bank of Mandakini. So that so when a devotee is residing in a particular place, that becomes a dham. And when you do some sinful activity in a dham, then you get the appropriate reaction for that. So we are extremely fortunate that we are connected to Gaur Nitai, and whatever is connected to Gaur Nitai, then there is no offenses to that. So whether it is the deity worship of Gaur Nitai or whether it is residing in Dham of Gaur Nitai, which is Navdeep Dham, Mayapur Dham, there are no offenses to the Dham when we go to Navdeep. And whatever is connected with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu and the Panch Tattva or the Gaur Bhakta Vrindas. So there are no offenses. So they are extremely merciful. But other places, the offenses will have reaction. So this was one of the offenses that they committed. They drank liquor and they also um, disrespected the Dham because Lord Shiva was residing there for some time. And then they also played water sports in the Mandakini. Mandakini is basically Ganges. It's an expansion of Ganges. And Mandakini is, I think, on the heavenly planets, probably. Um, and so they were naked and they were playing water sports in Mandakini. So it is also being disrespectful to Mother Ganges because Mother Ganges is also the greatest devotee of the Lord, and she is originating from the feet of the Lord. So that way also they had broken a lot of etiquettes. So they had committed a lot of big offenses. Now the Acharyas, they also say that people, they go to the Ganges to get purification, to get purified, right? For purification we go to some dham or some holy places, but here they went to the Ganges and they committed sinful activities. So instead of the Ganges taking away the sinful activities, the reaction of the sinful activities, these people, they committed sinful activities on the bank of Ganges, right? So the Acharyas comment that who gets purified? So someone who is pure in their consciousness, they get purified. Not everyone gets purified. So that's why we hear that many times we also go to the Dham or we also go to a Tirtha and then we take bath in Ganges or some sacred river. But after some time, we also, there is a tendency to commit the sinful activities again and again. Or maybe not, if not sinful activities, then at least we have a lot of anarthas. So those anarthas, they are repeated again and again. So why? So it means that our consciousness is not yet purified. Unless we have pure consciousness, we cannot be purified completely. So that is very important. So it is like similar to chanting the holy name purely. Like there are three stages: Nam Aparad, Nam Abhas, and Shuddhanam. If you take Shuddhanam, then you go to the abode of the Lord. You attain Prema. And for Shuddhanam, we don't even have to chant repetitively, right? We just have to chant the holy name, just one syllable of the holy name purely, and we attain the lotus feet of the Lord. When we reach the state of Namabhas, which means that offenses are almost destroyed, like almost gone. So at that stage, we attain freedom from karma, from bondage, which means that we attain liberation. There are no pious activities remaining. There are no impious activities remaining. Everything is nullified. So in that state, we reach the stage of Brahman. Okay, and uh, and when we chant with offenses, then what happens? The karmas that we have destroyed, by first chanting the holy name, they reappear. And we have to bear the reaction for all these karmas that we had committed earlier, because it is stated in the scripture, and Srila Rupa Goswami, Vishwanath Thakur, they all say that just by once chanting the holy name, all the past, present, and future karmas of our life, they are all destroyed at that moment. So there is no, and in fact, I think it is Sanatan Goswami who has mentioned this in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, saying that, or maybe Rupa Goswami in the Padyavali, I don't remember the exact reference, but it is stated that you cannot even imagine how much sin you can commit, how much sin can be destroyed by chanting the holy name. So you may imagine also mentally that you would like to commit sins, but the intensity, the amount of sin that you can perform in the mind, also everything is destroyed by the holy name. So the holy name will destroy much more than that. So what you can imagine. Okay. So, but the only requirement, terms and condition is that it should be chanted purely. And if you chant at the state of Namabhas, then you are liberated, but there is a chance that you may commit aparad also after that. Namabhas, you can fall down to Namabhas. But, Namabhas to Namaprad. But if you chant purely, then you attain the feet of the Lord. So there is no question of coming down, falling down. So you have already gone back to the spiritual world. So when we visit a particular tirtha or dham, the effect of that dham on us will depend on the degree our heart is purified or our consciousness is purified. Or, it all depends on what consciousness we have, what consciousness we carry. And it does not depend on that particular time. Like one may have good consciousness at a particular moment, but then later in the life, what they do. So the activities that we do in our entire lives, they are all recorded by the Lord. And that actually defines and it describes our consciousness. So that consciousness is actually very important. If we have good consciousness, nice consciousness, pure consciousness, then we'll get immediately the effect of all these things. So it is also stated that if we take bath in Radhakund once, then we attain the love similar to those of the gopis in the wake of Srimati Radharani's mood. But then we have seen that when devotees, they take bath in Radhakund, they have taken a couple of times or many times, what to speak of one time, but then we are back to normal. So Prabhupada also in this context, he says it is like the elephant taking bath, and then after taking bath and coming back to the sand, he starts rolling in the sand. So he again makes himself very dirty, and then again he goes and takes bath, and then he repeats this cycle. So if this is the mentality that going to a tirtha or a dham to get purified, but then not giving up the anarthas, sticking to those anarthas, then it will take a longer time, because then it is offensive to repeatedly do the activities again and again, in spite of taking advantage of all these pure places. So this is a wonderful lesson that our Acharyas also share. And now, actually, what happened is Narada, he was extremely compassionate because he's a great Vaishnava. So he wanted to bestow bhakti to these two demigods. And I think the reason, because he got compassionate for Nalakuvera and Manikirva, is because they were associates of Lord Shiva. So anyone who is connected to a devotee is also very fortunate, because indirectly they will attain the Lord's mercy at some point of time later in their life. Okay, so some devotee will bestow mercy to them. So in this case also, you will see that Narada, actually his desire he wanted to bestow bhakti to them. So that's why he cursed them, to nullify their offenses to the Dham and to Lord Shiva and to Ganges. Okay, so Narada. So now another important lesson we can learn from here is that devotees may commit offenses to another devotees, or to another place or dham, or like whatever whatever is in relation with Krishna. But some other devotee, other pure devotee, can interfere, and he can provide us a solution to escape from that aparadh. reactions of that aparadha or to nullify that aparadha. So here also Narada is interfering. Now Narada is a pure devotee. So in spite of Nalakuvera and Manigriva committing offenses to Lord Shiva indirectly and Ganges, Narad is coming and intervening just because again they are connected to Lord Shiva. So any degree of connection with devotee is always auspicious. And finally they attain the mercy of the Lord. So here also we'll see that Narad interfered and somehow Nalakuvera and Manigriva, they were saved. And not just saved, but they got the ultimate treasure, which is Krishna Prema. Now, the similar pastime is also there in Krishna's Kalya Lila. So you'll see that Kalya actually offended all the Vrajvasis, right? Because not just offended them, but many of Krishna's friends, they died when they went to the bank of the Kalindi, where Kalya was residing, because the entire environment had become so poisonous that just by inhaling the air, they just died. And then Krishna glanced at them and they all woke up, right? So you'll see that Kalya offended all the Vrajvasis, not just Vrajvasis, but he also offended Yamuna because he resided in Yamuna. He tried to pollute Yamuna. But you'll see now Kalya, when Krishna chastised Kalya, so Kalya did become repentant at the end, okay, and he begged forgiveness from the Lord. But Krishna will not forgive you so easily. So Krishna does not forgive someone who has offended his devotees so easily. He will forgive if the person has offended him, but he does not forgive so easily someone who has offended his devotees. But here we see that Kalya was forgiven by the Lord quite easily, okay, and that was because the wives of Kalya, the Kalya Patnis, okay, so they were pure devotees of the Lord, and because they appealed on behalf of Kalya, that's why Krishna forgave Kalya easily. So here also we'll see that how devotees can interfere, pure devotees, other pure devotees can interfere and they can, but the requirement is that one has to be repentant. So here Kalya was also repentant. It is not that, okay, we can keep committing aparadhs to devotees, some other devotee can come and we will interfere and we will make us rid from the reaction to the offenses. No. Here, Nalakuvera and Manigriva, they got repentant because when they got cursed by Narada, so they realized their position, they begged forgiveness, and then later on they got Krishna's association. So by the time they were already kind of purified because they stayed in Braj. Okay. So, and they served Brajvasis. So that also we'll discuss. So that's how they got purified, and then they begged forgiveness from Krishna personally, and then they got the mercy of the Lord also. So this is how the person who offends devotees, they have to be repentant, and at the same time, they another devotee should interfere. So there are other examples from God Lila also. We'll not go into detail, but these are just some lessons that we can learn from this particular incident. Okay, so now it is also mentioned by the Acharyas that so now if you remember, Narada is angry with them because he's seeing that they are naked and they are disrespectful to Narada also. Because when he's passing by, they are not even respecting, they are not even looking at him. Whereas the other Apsaras, the demigoddess, they are seeing Narada and they are feeling ashamed. So they cover themselves, but they are completely intoxicated. In that intoxication, they are not even respecting Narada properly. They are not even seeing him. So Narada apparently shows anger, but we'll see how Narada's anger is ultimately the blessing. Curse of a Vaishnava is also a blessing, and Vaishnavas can never the Vaishnavas never take revenge on anyone. That is the most important quality of a Vaishnava. That also we'll see. But Narada got angry because he realized that these demigods, they have become very proud of their material position. And then it is, the Acharyas say that the pride of learning, wealth, and lineage subdue the righteous. Okay. And out of the three, the pride of wealth is in the middle. Like for example, in the house, the fire starts in the middle and then it starts spreading everywhere and it destroys everything. So similarly, the pride of wealth is actually the center, and it is the root of the other types of pride. So there is a pride of learning, there is a pride of wealth, pride of lineage. Okay. And this pride of wealth will start spreading and it will destroy everything. So this is how Acharyas, they give analogy of the fire in the house. And then Narada says that in order to curb this pride, poverty is the best way to curb the pride. Because when someone is uh, poverty stricken, then they will realize how it feels to be without like to not have anything, and in that particular position one will start appreciating those who are poor, and one will naturally become humble. And in that position you'll also be able to control the senses, because when one is proud of wealth, then one loses control of senses because of being rich, and ultimately that leads to being hatred and violent towards others. So that's why poverty is the it's very important. Like when devotees they experience poverty, so that time they get a lot of realizations. And it is also stated in the Bhagavatam. Krishna says that when I especially favor someone, then I take away everything, so make him completely dependent of Krishna. So the special mercy, like, so Prabhupada says that this is what happened to me. Krishna took away everything that Prabhupada had, right? His wealth, his family, whatever possessions he had, everything Krishna took it away. And then Prabhupada completely gave up. He took sannyas and was dependent on Krishna. So Narada is basically kind of preaching to them that how being poor is kind of an asset for someone who would like to attain the Lord. Because generally, whenever some sannyasis, renunciants, they visit the house of a poor family, then they will welcome the sannyasis, they will respect them, they will offer them bhoga or prasad, and they will treat them very nicely. So that way, it opens the door for their, uh, it is getting sukriti, agyat sukriti, and through that sukriti, one can connect with the Lord. But when one is proud, then whatever learning, whatever good lessons he has learned, everything gets distorted. It is all waste, because finally the pride of wealth destroys everything at the end. So then Narada is sharing from his own example that how in the past life he was actually he was poor in his previous life, and then he could get, because of that poverty, he could get association of sadhus. So he was very fortunate to hear from the Bhakti Vedantas and to serve them personally, to also have their remnants. And that's how he attained the Lord in the same life. Or, he in the next life he came as Narad Muni. Now, Narad Muni actually is a Saktavesh avatar. So, Saktavesh avatar, they are eternal forms of the Lord. They are eternal forms, and they are the empowered. So, they are not Lord, they are the Jivas, but they are empowered by the Lord. So, Saktavesh means Shakti Avesh. The power of the Lord enters that particular Jiva. And this power is eternal. So, eternally bestowed upon these Jivas. That's why they are Saktavesh avatar. So, in one sense, Narada is also eternal form. But so in this particular pastime, it seems that he had a previous life and then he became a Narad Muni. Just like Yashoda and Nanda, they are also eternal associate of Lord. And it appears that Drona and Dara became Nanda and Yashoda. But our Acharyas, they have reconciled, saying that actually Nanda and Yashoda, they are eternal parents of Krishna in spiritual world. So Drona and Dara, they are the Amshas of Nanda and Yashoda. Okay. So similarly, here also Narad's previous life is used as an it's just to um, like it's an example for us to learn from his life. So it's a Lila basically. It's not something that really happened. It's just a lesson to be learned from his previous life. So so you can say that the previous life of Narada was kind of an amsha of Narada. Okay. Then yeah, so as I stated earlier, that this when sadhus chastise, it is not for revenge. And in when Sukdev Goswami was reciting this pastime, so Parikshit Maharaj did inquire from Sukdev Goswami that why Narada was subjected to revenge. But then uh, Sukdev Goswami explained to him, that Vaishnava is never he's above all these qualities. He's transcendental, and they are Vaishnavas are like good physicians. So they know how to cure the diseased person. And whatever they do, whatever activities they perform, it leads everyone to go back to Godhead. So this is what Sukdev Goswami explained to Parikshit Maharaj. And what is the proof of that? So the proof is that Narad Muni, if he wanted to take revenge, then he would have not blessed Nalkuver and Manigriva with the remembrance of their previous life. But when he cursed them, he also gave them the benediction of remembering their previous lives. So they could no longer engage in sinful activities, as well as they could also serve the people of Braj. So Harivamsh, in the Harivamsh Puran, it is stated that Nalkuver and Manigriva, they shaded and fulfilled the desires of the Vrajvasis. So you know that in Braj, every tree is a desire tree, Kalpaviksha. And similarly, although they were cursed, they attained the position of Yamalarjuna trees. So because they became trees, they also became like a Kalpaviksha. And because of that, they fulfill the desires of the Vrajvasis. So in indirect sense, they actually served all the Vrajvasis. And they also shaded them. So that's how being born in Vraj, serving the Vrajvasis, they became Vrajvasis, and they attain the Lord by the blessings of Narad Muni. So this is a proof of Narada's mercy upon them. It was not as a revenge, because ultimately they got the direct association of Krishna and the Vrajvasis. So Narada, so he now it is very interesting. See, Narada is a pure devotee, and we know that we can understand from the past time that Nalkuver and Manigriva, they are the ones who offended indirectly Lord Shiva. But now Narada, he is repenting, and he felt that probably by cursing them, he offended Lord Shiva. How? Because he felt that these two, Nalkuver and Manigriva, so actually they were so I think these two demigods, they were friends of Kuvera, and Kuvera is a brother of Lord Shiva. So that's why Narad Muni got concerned that somehow indirectly I have offended Lord Shiva, because indirectly they are associates of Lord Shiva somehow. So he became concerned about that, and that's why after cursing, after preaching to them, Narada straight away he went to Vaikunta to ask for forgiveness from Narayan, or to request fulfillment of what he had uttered. So there are two possibilities. Our Acharyas say that either he probably went to beg forgiveness from Lord Narayan, or to ask to fulfill his desire. His desire means Narada's desire that these two demigods, they become devotees of Krishna, they attain the Lord. Or he went to Badrika Ashram to see his guru. So Nar Rishi, they are the gurus of Narad Muni. So they went to Badrika Ashram to see his guru on account of devotion and to inform him of his conduct. So he just shared what happened and how he conducted himself. Okay, now why? Now the question is that, okay, Narada cursed them to become trees. So why only Arjuna trees? So Narada was thinking that actually Arjuna is a very dear friend of Krishna. And by remembering Arjuna, when Krishna sees these trees, he will remember Arjun. And when he remembers Arjun, naturally he will be very compassionate towards both the trees. So the name Arjun is connected to his very dear associates. Like there is one Arjun Sakha in Goloka, Krishna's coward boyfriend. And then there is Arjun, who is a Kshatriya, the son of Kunti. So by remembering Arjun, both Arjuns, Narada felt that Krishna will very easily be able to be merciful to them. So that's why he made them Arjuna trees. Yeah, now it is also stated that Nalkuver and Manigriva, they had nothing to do with bhakti. So they had no intention of performing any sadhana or bhajan towards the Lord. So it was only the costless mercy of Narada to bestow them bhakti and make them see Krishna face to face. So in this context, the Acharyas, they say that so if one asks favor from devotee, then one is very easily successful instead of asking from the Lord directly. So it's very important, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also has stressed in this sampradaya, Gaudiya Vaishnava sampradaya, that Gopi Vartur Padakavala Das 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 Anudas, that ultimately we are servant of the devotees of the Lord. Okay, and we cannot approach the Lord directly, but we should try to approach the Lord through his servants, through his devotees. In fact, there is also wonderful verse in one of the scriptures, and it says that if one is able to perform his bhajan sadhana perfectly, still he cannot attain the Lord. There is no guarantee he can attain the Lord. But if one performs service to his devotees, then in spite of any shortcomings or imperfections in that service or sadhana, one is guaranteed to achieve the Lord at the end. So that is the glory of being connected with the devotees, serving the devotees. And then Narada also thought that I will elevate them from immobile species to heavenly planet and then attaining topmost bhakti. So this was Narada's intention. And externally, it seems that he cursed them, he was angry, he took revenge. But internally, there are references from the scriptures that our Acharya quote, and they prove how Narada's intention was ultimately to favor them with Krishna's bhakti. Okay. Now, another wonderful point the Acharyas used to say that the motor and the rope which were used in this pastime. So they were saying that the Acharyas are saying that the motor and the rope are also Satchidananda because they got connected to the Lord. So now we know that there is Jad Tattva and then there is the Jeev Tattva. And the Jeev Tattva, they are conscious, they have life. Okay. But the Jad Tattva or the material elements, they do not have life. But when they are connected to the Lord, then life enters them and they become Satchidananda for that particular time being. So in the material world, it is like that. For the timing when everything is connected to Krishna's service, then it becomes, they attain life for some time. As soon as they are disconnected, then it's gone. So, but in the spiritual world, because everything is spiritual, that's why all these material objects also, they are Satchidananda. And that's why the Padma Puran, so Acharyas, they quote from the Padma Puran and Harivamsh, and they also support this point. And they also say that because of this, because of being Satchidanand in nature, the rope and the motor never broke. So if you see that, after Krishna is trying to deliver Yamalarjuna through by dragging the motor, so he's also pulling the rope, and then the motor gets stuck to the trees, and then he pulls. Apparently, he pulls. So neither the rope nor the motor breaks. See, now it is very interesting. Through the motor and the rope, Krishna is able to, like completely uproot the trees, but nothing happens to the motor and the rope. So that also means the motor and the rope, they are Satchidanand forms. Okay. Otherwise, it would have broken or it might have been ruptured somehow. Another reasoning the Acharyas give is that actually there was no effort involved in uprooting the trees. Krishna did not pull them also. There was no effort at all. The motor itself was the doer, as it is suggested that it was conscious. So the Lila Shakti of the Lord arranged all these wonderful pastimes in such a way that Krishna did not even have to pull the rope. The motor itself somehow uprooted the trees because the motor was conscious. And so now Nalukvera and Manigriva, they saw everything as Krishna's plan, Krishna's arrangement. So whether they became proud and whether Narada cursed them, ultimately at the end they realized that it was all Krishna's arrangement. And through the mercy of Narad Muni, through the instrument of Narada, they achieved the mercy of Krishna. So it was Krishna's plan through Narada to bestow them mercy. And they also desired Dasya Bhav for the Lord, to serve the Lord. So this is how actually Krishna arranged the situation. And I feel that again, because whether it is Narad who is the cause behind their deliverance or it was Krishna's plan. Again, I think it because they were connected to Lord Shiva, so the Lord bestowed special mercy on them. Now the interesting thing is, Acharyas say that Krishna smiled, thinking that I have released them from bondage, but I am still bound, and I am still chastised by the gopis. The gopis are coming and they're chastising me, and these people, they have already been freed from their bondage. So he was like gesturing like that, he was smiling, and it was fitting that Krishna talked to them since they took birth in Braj, and he was only under the control of Brajvasis. So it is also very obvious that the Brajvasis are extremely dear to Krishna, and Krishna is only the control under the control of the Brajvasis. So because both of them they stayed in Braj, and because they served the Brajvasis, so that's how they say that it was befitting for Krishna to talk to them, since they became Brajvasis. And indirectly, Sukhdev Goswami hints to Maharaj Parikshit that see the glory of Brajdham. It's only possible in Braj, in Gokul, and Gokul is one of its kind. So this you will not see, not experience other than Gokul. So outside of Braj. So this is a very special place. Braj is a very special place. And then our Acharyas, they say that if by chance one meets a sadhu, then his life is immediately successful. A very interesting point they also share now is they say that devotees coming in contact with sadhus, any person coming in contact with the sadhu, their life is immediately successful. But if one commits aparadh, the result is delayed until it is rectified. So just as, and they give the analogy of just as darkness of the blind. So blind person is already living in a dark situation. So darkness of blind isn't gone even after seeing the sun. So no matter the blind person sees the sun, he will always have a dark vision, black vision. So similarly, offenders, their bondage isn't gone even by seeing pure devotees like Narad Muni. Such a wonderful analogy. And it also makes our faith stronger by understanding that why we are not getting mercy of the Lord, why the mercy is delayed, why we are struggling so much in spiritual life. Because we are not free from anarthas, and in many ways we are also offenders, because we do commit out of the 10 offenses to holy name, we do commit some or many or almost all of them. So because we are covered by offenses, even in spite of taking association of devotees, in spite of hearing, chanting, doing all limbs of bhakti, practicing them, maybe we are still not advancing. So there is some aparadh which is still lingering in the heart. So after this, both of them, they circumambulated the motor. Since the motor, now see, Krishna was attached, he was tied up to the motor, and we understand that they circumambulate Krishna, but Acharyas is saying that they were actually circumambulating the motor also, because the motor was attached to Krishna, and motor was actually following him. So actually, Krishna is the one who got the motor to the spot where the trees were there, and then he uprooted them. But our acharyas, they reverse it and they say that actually it was the motor who was following Krishna, and on its own, the motor actually was able to uproot the trees. So they are reversing this particular verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So now there are, so coming back to the evidences. So I said that it is possible that this motor was actually none other than Srimati Radharani, and this can be backed up by three things. One is that, as the Acharyas say, that the motor was Satchidananda Swarup. Okay, this is one thing. Second thing is the motor was following Krishna. So we know that Radharani always follows Krishna wherever Krishna goes. The second thing. And the third thing is that this is a very relevant sentiment, because Radharani is supposed to be very compassionate. Like she's a personification of compassion. So here you will see in this particular pastime, Krishna did not directly go touch the trees and he uprooted them. He uprooted them through the motor. And this is how we are also delivered. We are delivered by the mercy of Srimati Radharani first. So the Radharani, so only by coming in contact with Srimati Radharani, actually we get delivered. So this is how we can connect using this analogy. And these are the three supporting ideas that can make us believe that it is possible that the motor was Srimati Radharani. Okay, and now finally at the end, Jiva Goswami in his Gopal Champu, he states that actually in the previous life, so in Goloka, there are associates of Krishna, and two of them, they are associates of Krishna in Dasya Bhav, and they sing for the pleasure of the Lord. So these devotees are Stignakanta and Madhukanta. Okay, and Jiva Goswami says that actually in the previous life these were Nalakuera and Manigriva. And then very interesting point also he adds, he says that after circumambulating Krishna, they left in the northern direction. So the question is that why they go in the northern direction instead of going in other directions. So there are two reasons. One external reason is that Kuvera is actually the presiding deity of the north. And because they are like associates of Kuvera, so it is natural for them to go north. But the internal reason, second reason they give is because north is a place where many devotees live. So in order to take the association of all these devotees, they proceeded in the northern direction. All right. So with this, we end our the glories of pastimes of Nalakuera and Manigriva, the commentaries of the Acharyas, and the lessons that we learned from this pastime. So if you have any questions or comment, then you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Madanat Pranam to you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. So when we speak about Krishna being merciful, then this, he was himself in a condition of tied up, but still, he went and delivered the trees. And I heard this point first time about Arjuna trees, how the name was given like that. So they can, Krishna is very much attracted to Arjuna. So never contemplated on that. So thank you for sharing that. And always there's something new we learn every year. But so is this the only point where Krishna is given that they are very merciful? And we talk about so many things in connection to that there's a like a Thanksgiving sale, and everybody should because should this be a bhav that because Krishna is merciful, he was merciful to the Arjuna tree, that we should do more bhakti, or there is something more to that? That's one question. And is this the only Lila in which he is merciful? His mercy
Second question
is personified.
What is the second question?
Both are connected to mercy. One is this the only incident where Krishna is merciful? Of course, he was merciful to the monkeys also, because he gave them, just came to my mind. But at the same time, one is this the only incidents where we can say Krishna is merciful with Arjuna tree incidents? And secondly, I myself forgot. Should this be the reason? Should this be the reason that sometimes we see devotees doing extra endeavor? Is it because Krishna is like we always say, love is unconditional. It should be unconditional. It's not be that it's a merciful month that we should do extra. We should do anyway extra in an unconditioned way, just like a mother's love for the child. So like in those thoughts, if you can explain a little bit more.
Okay,
how can
so
unconditionally serve Lord Damodar in this month, Kartik month?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, unconditional love is forever. It is not just for a particular month. That's why in our previous class, if you remember, I had read one particular quotation from Srila Prabhupada, wherein he is saying that Kartik month is a concession, and devotees do not want concession. I mean, obviously, the devotees he's talking about, they are like quite advanced. Generally, devotees also want kripa; they also want some concession. But what the mood in which he's saying is that in the context that devotee does not wait for any particular month or any particular time period to serve Krishna. Devotee, for them, every day is a Kartik day, like that. And then Prabhupada also says that generally devotees should chant 24 hours a day. Can you do that? So we cannot do that. That's why we can understand what is our position, and we also require that special mercy. So it is very important for devotees also, especially for struggling um, sadhakas who are aspiring to advance in bhakti, and they are not yet at the state of bhava and prema. So for all these devotees, I think very important to observe Kartik month because that concession is there. Uh, but of course, the principle of unconditional loving the Lord is always there. It does not apply to particular month or day. That is constant. Okay. So, and then coming back to your first question about, yeah, what was your first question? I forgot.
That when we hear of the Arjuna tree, you know, like how you said in your class, that's why this question came to me that, you know, he was himself tied and he's trying to deliver the trees. So, you know, from our perspective, we'll think, oh, Krishna is himself tied by Yashoda and now he's still delivering. So he's so merciful, God. So is there any other incidents in the Lila, in the Damodar Lila, which depicts this merciful nature of Krishna, Lord Damodar?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of his pastimes, they are all merciful pastimes only because Krishna kills the demons and the demons get liberation ultimately. And in some instances, only Krishna kills a demon and that demon attains the Lord's abode. So we know that out of the unlimited qualities, Krishna possesses 64 qualities. The most prominent qualities, 64. And Lord Vishnu possesses 60 qualities. Lord Shiva possesses 55 qualities. So Lord Vishnu and Lord Krishna, so they can give liberation to they can actually, the word used is gati. So they award gati to the asuras they killed. Okay, asuras or demons they kill. Now, what then Rupa Goswami further clarifies this point. He says that although Vishnu can also give gati to the demons that he kills, which means that the demons attain swarga, heavenly planets, or more opulence in their next lifetime. Okay, but in the context of Krishna, when Krishna kills a demon, the demon attains not just liberation in material sense, but liberation in spiritual sense, which means that either they attain Savijya Mukti or they attain Krishna's abode. So the demons who have attained Krishna's Sayujya Mukti is like, for example, Aghasur. And then I think it was also Kansa. He also attained Sayujya Mukti. And then there are some demons who attained, like Putana. So she attained the Lord's abode. But Rupa Goswami also clarifies, quoting Brahmanda Purana, he says that because Putna's uh, affection for the Lord was twofold. So she was feeling motherly affection, at the same time she also wanted to kill Krishna. That's why she attained a position as a nurse in the spiritual world. But the intensity of love that she attained was a very inferior one. It was on the level of Brahmananda bliss. Someone who has attained Brahmananda, like that kind of bliss, she attained. So, in spite of being in the Lord's abode as a nurse, the bliss that she attained was that like a Brahmananda bliss. So, very inferior type of position she attained in the spiritual world. So that's why Krishna also says, no, that ye athamam prapadante tam sataya bhajamiham. As someone surrenders to me, I reward them accordingly. So if you have desire to, and you have envious desire with the Lord, you want to kill the Lord, then you attain liberation. You can attain Sayujya Mukti, you can merge with the Lord, you can merge with his Brahman effulgence. But uh, even if your heart has been transformed, you want to serve the Lord also, still you get an inferior position in the spiritual world, right? So there are pastimes in Krishna Lila where, in fact, Srila Prabhupada also explains in a wonderful purport. In, I think it is in the Bhagavatam somewhere, and Krishna says that when the Mahabharata took place, so that time all the assembled enemies in the Kaurava side, when they saw Krishna, they attained moksha. Now, what is the moksha? What exactly moksha means? So there are different categories of moksha. One moksha means that you attain heavenly planets, Swargalok. Another moksha means that you attain liberation from the bondage of material existence, which means that you get free from all your karmic reactions. That is moksha, which means you attain Brahman. And another type of moksha is to attain the spiritual world. So then Prabhupada says that which demons attained liberation as if in merging with the Lord or Brahman, and which demons went to the spiritual abode of the Lord. So Prabhupada says that those demons who had envious mentality for Krishna, but because they saw Krishna, they attained, uh, they merge with the Lord. They attain Sayuji Mukti because they are envious of the Lord. And whoever is envious of the Lord, they attain Sayuji Mukti because they want to become like Krishna. They want to become one with Krishna. So they attain Sayuji Mukti. And then the demons who saw Krishna and their hearts were transformed, they started appreciating the Lord. Those demons, they went to Vaikuntha. So there's a technical, I mean, subtle differences in different types of destinations of demons as well as devotees. So even amongst devotees, they desire different types of rasa with the Lord. Like for example, here it is mentioned that Nalkuver and Manigriva, they wanted to attain Dasya Ras of the Lord. So they became Stignakanta and Madhukanta. Okay, like that in the spiritual world. So Krishna displays his Lila in all circumstances. But yeah, Damodar Lila is special Lila. It's a special month also. And all the pastimes of Krishna in Damodar month, they are extremely special. So that way you can say that Krishna was bound, but in that state also he was thinking of liberating others. So that happened in a very special Leela, in Damodar Leela, like that.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And you also mentioning a point about wealth, that if a person has wealth, then he is so much, I'm just saying in my own words, apt to sense gratification, that we had heard that there are 4 things, right, in which a person can be diverted from bhakti. One is beauty, wealth, qualification. Are there 4 or 6 things? I don't know. I'm not remembering. I was just trying to recollect that from one of the classes. Other than wealth, also the other things can be very intoxicating for a person to be further engrossed in sense gratification rather than, thinking of bhakti. And one point you were mentioning about somebody became poor. I was not able to hear because I got a call from one of the speakers in the middle. Something you said about it's better to be poor.
Yeah. So
What was that point, Prabhuji?
it was Narad Muni who was preaching to them that how being in poverty is a advantage for the devotees, because or advantage for any human being, because in that situation, in that particular circumstance, one will realize, one will feel compassion to others, towards others, because they will be able to recognize the pain of others because they themselves are undergoing that pain. So in that situation, they become more compassionate, they become more open-minded to receive the sadhus, to get their mercy, blessings. They become humble. So that way, poverty is a very important. It can be very favorable for one's devotion. But if we are wealthy, so see, there are examples of devotees in our Bhagavatam where Krishna has awarded great wealth to Dhruv Maharaj, to Prahlad Maharaj, to Priyavrat Maharaj, Amrish Maharaj. But if you are very wealthy, then your sadhana has to be that much strong also. So you'll see that how Parikshit Maharaj and all these, Pandavas also so much wealthy. But so there were Kshatriyas, there were kingly devotees of the Lord. There were Brahmanas also who were poor, like Sudama Brahmana, Sudama Vipra. So there are all kinds of examples of devotees in Krishna's Lila. So it is wrong to say that wealth always will cultivate pride in the devotees. It is not necessary. It all depends on our consciousness ultimately. So if we are proper under the proper shelter of Guru Sadhu Shastra and we are doing our bhajan and sadhana properly, then wealth can also be channelized in the service of Lord. And ultimately, one will also become detached from wealth. So this will also see in the examples of all these devotees, personalities. They all left their house and they finally they attained the Lord. So it is not that they were attached to the wealth. Okay, for many years they ruled, they enjoyed material wealth, assets, and everything. But ultimately, they left it like someone who leaves stool behind. Okay, they did not even look back. So Parikshit Maharaj also was that kind of Mahabhagavad. So wealth can be an asset for the devotees, provided it is used for the service of the Lord, and it has to be done very intelligently. And sadhana is the key, which will make the devotees always feel humble. Because sadhana, by doing sadhana regularly, we'll always preach ourselves. And we'll also take lessons and we'll also take blessings from senior devotees. And we'll also try to serve the sadhus. So that way we'll be humble. So for the devotees, there is no constraint in terms of material assets and all that, but it has to be done with the proper consciousness.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your input, for the answer. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Wonderful class. Short but very nice. I wish it could be longer.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Prabhuji.
so,
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you for a wonderful and nectarine class. As always, it keeps us very motivated. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
thank you. Thank you. Okay. Any other question or comment? All right. Okay. So thank you, devotees, for joining and giving me the opportunity for your service. All praise to our Gurujan and the Acharyas. Pranam to all the devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Namo Namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnav ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Prema Rāsa Prabhuji ki jai.
Vrinda ki jai.
Jai to all the devotees who joined today, and happy Damodar month, happy Kartik month. Radharani ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much, Prabhuji,
Thank you.
for wonderful class. Hare Krishna.